Howdy, folks. Howdy, howdy. I'm Black Dragon, and welcome to Black Dragon Biker TV. And as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in from wherever it is in the world that you happen to be. Listen, tonight is Halloween, so a lot of folks are doing stuff. We don't have our normal cast on tonight, our crew. So you guys have me. I know we have Dibber in the comments. So glad to have him here with us as always. So I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while. I'm going to go at the show alone, which is, where I come from, kind of my roots. I wanted to talk a bit about some things that have been on my mind. Kind of interesting. I get calls all over the country all of the time about people who are, for some reason or another, either intimidated or not sure, or all these things they come up with, MC protocol, all these questions they ask me about being a biker and being in the biker world, on the biker set, in the motorcycle club world. And a lot of you guys, I just really don't think this is cut out for you. There are plenty of organizations that you can go to and party and have a great party time. And I think that just a lot of you folks just aren't cut out to be MCers, MCing in an MC. And that's because of the requirements of an MC. The MC is a place that requires a substantial gift from within inside of who you are to be given to the social construct we call a motorcycle club brotherhood. And for all of these selfish, scary ass people, you're not fixing to be there when we need you. You're not fixing to be there if there's trouble. You're only there for the party. And you want the easy way out of everything. You want to prospect easy. You want to come in easy. You want to you don't want to do what it takes to get your club blessed. Always screaming this America, rights, freedom, blah 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 blah. And when I think about it, it's like my mother was more of a gangster, more of a badass than most of these folks that I see trying to go into MCs today. And the reason I think of that is tonight, 24 years ago, on this night in 1997, my mother effectively drew her last breath on planet Earth. She had a multiple stroke, a huge stroke that killed her brain. She only had 5% brain capacity left by November 1st. So here on Halloween night, for a lot of people, they trick or treat and do all these things, but this was the night my mother died. And my entire life, almost as though she knew it, she told me, if I ever wind up on a ventilator as a vegetable, I want to be dead. And you will pull the plug. And she never told anybody else this. So when she never told anyone else in my family this. She told it to me from the time I was 5 until in my entire life. If I'm ever on a ventilator, I want to be dead. You will make sure that happens. I will not be a vegetable on one of those machines. Like almost like she knew that was going to happen. And now here I am, a grown ass man looking at my family saying, no, we can't keep her alive indefinitely. She's got 5% brain capacity. She would be a vegetable, and they're not going to be able to get her brain back. So I have been instructed to pull the plug. Oh, yeah? Who instructed you to do that? We didn't hear no instructions like that. And so I had to deal with that. It was tough. But it was the kind of woman my mom was. What I learned about MCing from my mom is kind of crazy when you think, well, Black Dragon, we listen to you. I get calls all the day. I got a call today from a motorcycle club that I spoke to from another country. And they sat down to listen to me talk. You've got all this knowledge or whatever. Where does it come from, man? It came from my mama. She taught me more about MCing, and she was never in a damn MC. But I watched her kill 4 men before I was even 6 years old. Killed them for messing with her family. You see, I come from a time where Black life in America wasn't worth much, where you could actually be pulled off of a street and hanged back during the 60s when I was born. We lived in a place called Huntsville, Alabama, on a base called Redstone Arsenal. My father was a young sergeant in the Army. My mother was his beautiful bride. My mother had a very tough upbringing. When she was 12 years old, she was kidnapped and raped for several days, kept in an abandoned house, and tortured. Now, back during that time, when my mother was a little girl in the 40s, Black life, especially Black female life, was worth even less. The man who raped her got away with it simply by saying, oh, y'all know that girl's lying. Y'all know that gal's lying. That was all there was to it. My mother decided at an early age that was the first and last time anyone would mistreat her in any kind of way. At that young age of 12 years old, she began carrying a straight razor. And I'm told stories about her growing up by her friends that I call aunts, and my own aunt, her blood sister, about just how tough she became. You see, my grandmother, although she had much education, had gone to college through correspondence courses and had gathered degrees and things like that, she couldn't get a job except being a a maid in people's homes. So she traveled all over to be a maid, and that meant her kids were at home by themselves. At some point, one aunt went to go live with her mother or her father. My aunt went to go live with her father. Her brother, my uncle, had some sort of a debilitating childhood disease, so he was in a hospital for a lot of the time, which left my mother by herself. At some point in Lawton, Oklahoma, they came through and they removed all of the outhouses as the city went to plumbing. So they just one day a bulldozer comes through and knocks down all the outhouses that the folks had. So if you couldn't afford to put a toilet in your home, you had no place to use the bathroom. So she told me a story one time that she had no place to use the bathroom. And it got so bad that she actually vomited her refuse. This is how poor she was. When she was about 12 or 13 years old, she's going to school, and there was a scholarship to be had. And she was going to, as she finished school, she was going to get the scholarship. So now she gets about to be about 16 or 17 years old, and she had straight A's. She worked as a maid, cleaning up hotel rooms at the Skirving Plaza in Oklahoma City. She had a tough life. She had to go to school, so she would clean up and then come back and do the rest of her job. Well, she would clean up so many rooms before she went to school. So when she got back, she'd only have a few rooms to clean up. The maids got mad at her and told her, "Hey, you're making our life tough here because you're working faster than we are. And you're doing more floors than we're doing." So they gathered around her and tried to beat her up. This was the first time that I remember her telling me about the straight razor coming out. She cut the girl up so bad, she lost her job. There was a man who decided that he wanted to date her. My Aunt Jean tells me the story of how the man took her in his car out to the graveyard. You know how people do. And when he got her out to the graveyard, he decides, "I am going to have sex with you, or you are going to walk home." And so he goes to put her out of his car in the graveyard. This was the first time I learned of the 22 that she carried between her breasts. She pulled out the 22, put it to his head, put him on the ground, and took his car. My Aunt Jean tells me they had his car for about 20 days. He was terrified to ask for it back. She gave him the car back when she finally felt like that's what she wanted to do. She came up in a place with pimps and whores. She didn't have any family around. Grandma was off. She didn't live with her sister. Her brother was in a hospital. So she didn't have close family to look out after her. So she grew up on 2nd Street, 1st and 2nd Street in Oklahoma City. And I went back there. It doesn't exist anymore. I think it's now Bricktown or something. But I remember going back there, and I remember driving up and down 1st and 2nd Street. This was 35 years ago. And it was scary. It was terrifying to believe that my mother came from there. There was a pimp there who realized my mother's potential. You see, my mother had educated herself from reading books. We had a lot of educators in our family. I once asked my mom, I said, "Mom, why don't you speak like other Black people speak, being that you came from the same area?" My mother said, "Well, when I was reading books, I noticed that the words I was hearing people say were different than the words that were written in the book. So I looked up how to pronounce them, and that's how I would talk. I would speak the way I read, which is why she insisted that I speak the way I speak, which has been very rewarding to my career. Could have talked a whole bunch of other kinds of ways, but my mother wouldn't have it. So there was this pimp that saw my mom, and he pimped all the girls, but he heard the way that she spoke. And when she was young, he said to her, I see you hanging out on the street with all these girls and stuff, and these girls they're not gonna be going anywhere. They're gonna die out here as hoes. But you got something to you. And so this pimp put an order out on the street that my mother would never be turned out, that she would never be a hoe. So it was pimps and hoes and street people that raised my mother. But they raised her because they knew that she was one of their own, but that she would be floating up out of there. And they gave her that protection to do so. So she's in this school and she's about to get this scholarship because she had the 4.0 grade point average. And the principal's son also was in line for the scholarship. But he decided that his son might not get it unless he slanted the tables. So he trumped up some BS and put my mother out of school. It broke her heart because it was another big lesson for her that the world is not fair. And my uncle DB comes down. He was a principal of a school, of a high educated, highfalutin person. He comes down and he's going to put Anise in school. I'm going to put her in school. She's dropped out, caused trouble. So he's going to come down and force my mother to move up to Nebraska where he was and go to school. He's going to do this. But you see, my mother had made up her mind that no man was ever going to put his hands on her again. And so Uncle DB came down there on that BS. And my Aunt Bernita tells me she was terrified to be sitting and looking out of the front door at my mother and my Uncle DB in a shootout, with my mom shooting over the car at this grown man who was going to put his hands on her with her 22 and him shooting back at her. My mother said it looked like the Hatfield. My aunt said it looked like the Hatfields and the McCoys out there, just blasting away. Which I actually happened to meet a relative of the, I believe it was the McCoys, whichever side of the family that's left. I talked to that guy a few weeks ago. It was absolutely cool. But my mom had this gunfight with this man, this my uncle, and it was there that she was establishing the fact that I move on my own accord. A woman, a child, fighting a grown man. I move on my own accord. I move at the direction of my own feet. I move at the bearing of my own heart. I move at the beat of my own heartbeat. And I'll be damned if I let any man, woman, person, or thing determine my path. You've beaten me. You've raped me. I've had no food, no bathroom, no toilet. I go to work. I work as hard as I can, and you beat me down because I outworked you. I go to school. I learn as much as I can, and you beat me down because I outschooled you. So she learned how to be really, really, really tough when the civil rights era hit. And she married my dad, and he was stationed at Redstone Arsenal. And that's about the time my memory starts to come into play. I was about 4 years old. And that was about the time when I began to notice things like white only drinking fountains and stuff like that. I didn't quite know exactly what it all meant, but I knew there was a lot of tension and a lot of you could feel it in the air. My parents were afraid all of the time. And this is when we get into the chapter of the warrior Anisha Von Wakefield Bunch was. After this. Prepare yourself to take the helm as president of your mighty motorcycle club by delving into the pages of Black Dragon's newest book, The President's Bible, Chronicle 1, Principles of Motorcycle Club Leadership. There you will learn to advance your skills in applying the 14 scientific principles of leadership similar to those taught to officers in the United States Naval Service. Available in hardcover, paperback, and ebook. Get yours today on Amazon, Kindle, or order it at your local bookstore. Order your autographed copy from blackdragonsgear.com. Be the best motorcycle club president you can be. Get the book. Forgive me for that. On this damn diabetes medicine, it keeps you running to the bathroom. But anyway, I'm back now. So, thank you for listening to that, staying with me. I see all these people I've kept, so I appreciate that. So, anyway, as we move into the civil rights era, it was an interesting kind of era. And my mother being from Oklahoma, they didn't have the same kind of racism. Oklahoma was Indian territory. It was, there was a military town that she was from, Lawton. It was a little bit more integrated. When we moved down to the Deep South, it was just a little bit different. It was different than she had seen before. And being a young, excited person, I'm in a new place, I'm married, I have a husband, I have a son. But she was a fighter, she was a warrior. And these were not good things to be in the South. So I remember the first trouble she got into. The first trouble was interesting. There, as I remember her describing it, Redstone Arsenal had a place where you could shop. The base had basically a part for the military guys, and this part was integrated. Across the street was the stores that were owned by the businesses, the civilians. And all of this was military property, but this side was segregated. So blacks couldn't eat at the counters and things like that. So my mother, being the warrior that she was, noticed that all this is on government property. So she writes a damn letter to the White House saying, I know good and well in 1960 whatever, we certainly couldn't have segregated shops on a military base on government property. Whatever letter she wrote to whomever she sent it to, it got things rolling. It got things popping. And the next thing you know, these business owners get the word either integrate or get shut down. Now, this is an interesting thing because all these people have been marching and all this kind of stuff was going on, and all she did was wrote a letter. So the power of her pen was really, really huge. And it caused us a great deal of consternation. Almost got her killed. So I was in the store with we had a nanny. Her name was Wanda Faye. Was it Wanda Faye? This might not have been Wanda Faye. No, this was Curtis Dean. I was in the store, and I believe this was Curtis Dean. My first cousin. She lived with us, and she was our nanny. Wanda Faye lived with us a little bit later. But anyway, Curtis Dean, named after her father, Curtis Bunch, my father's brother. We were all in the store together, and we were some ways a little bit out of town. And so this man screams as we're walking through the store, "That's her. That's the bitch right there." And he had 2 or 3 friends with him. And they circle my 6-month pregnant mother. 3 of the like meanest white guys I'd ever seen in my whole life. They circle my mom up in the middle of the store, and my mom grabs me, pushes me behind her. Curtis Dean pushes Curtis Dean behind her. And my mother had a knee-high soda pop, back when knee-highs were probably a real knee-high. And as this man was going to grab her and accost her in front of her children, a 6-month pregnant, lone, single, female, black woman, she broke that knee-high pop bottle. And as he came for her, she shoved it straight down his face. And I just saw blood explode. Next thing I know, she has this straight razor out. Back then, a lot of whores and prostitutes, which is who raised her, carried straight razors. And the reason that they carried straight razors, they would cut you 3 or 4 times before you knew you'd been cut. And the purpose of the straight razor is to inflict fear. You see this blood coming all over the place, and it's so sharp, this razor, you don't even feel the pain initially. And when you feel the pain, it's just so sharp, and there's blood everywhere. You don't know where it's coming from. It's just an incredible fear factor. Just blood everywhere. Next thing I know, she has this straight razor out, flips it around like a butterfly knife. And the second dude, she has cut this guy so many times. And I can still hear the sick to this day. I can still hear it, as every time she hit that sucker, he howled. And now you got a store full of white folks. There wasn't I didn't see no black folks. They were just mean, and they was looking at her, and they was grabbing at her. And every time somebody grabbed, she'd slice them, she'd flay them. And she's got me behind her and my babysitter behind her. And every time somebody grabbed, she sliced, or she would stab with that knee-high bottle. And at some point, the proprietor said, "Just open a hole for her and let her go. You're going to get cut to death in here." So they opened a hole, and my mother cut her way through it out the front door. Now, back then, the number one car you could have in America that would let anyone know that you were anybody, it was a Cadillac. Elvis Presley drove one, for God's sake. Everybody was supposed to have one except some black folks. And my father, being a sergeant in the Army, made enough money, he had a Cadillac. This Cadillac brought more problems. It's funny because I'm seeing people in the comments talk about straight razors. So this seems like it might not only have been from my culture, Some other cultures may have dealt with this straight women. That's what the women carried back in the day in England too. Says Shetty 365, and Dibber says street gangs too. So I guess the straight razor thing has been around for a while. But anyway, this Cadillac, and the reason I bring this Cadillac up is because this Cadillac had a lot to do with some of the problems that we had, because we really weren't supposed to have such a magnificent car. So my mother we run to the Cadillac and jump in, and these white men are chasing her out of the store, calling her all kinds of bitches. We're going to kill you, and this, that, and the other. My mom jumps in that big old huge car, peels out, and these three men driving in a Volkswagen VW Bug come after her. I'll never forget the Volkswagen, not a Bug, but the van thing. What are those van things called? Things? What are they called? Whatever that van is, the Vanagon thing. And my mother carried that. My mother was driving. I'll never forget that sound. It sounded almost like that thing that Luke Skywalker used to ride through the canyons. So them and another group of people chased us. And back during those days, the roads were made by the chain gangs. They were beautiful, winding roads made with this free labor. And my mom was just kicking it down these roads, and the car was going so fast. And she made me and Curtis Dean lay down on the floor. And she said, whatever you do, son, don't look up here. Well, now, when you tell a 4-year-old, whatever you do, don't look up here, the first thing you're going to do is look up. And so I stood up at the point where she and this Vanagon thing got into it. Well, my father had taught my mom how to drive. And because he was stationed in the Army, her home was in Oklahoma. His home was in Mississippi. My aunt lived in Kansas. But we just spent all kinds of time on the road. Trying to get with my mom in a car on the road in a car fight, even in her early 20s, was not a good idea. And that was the first 3 men I saw her kill. She ran their asses headlong off the road and straight into a tree. I watched that thing hit, and I even knew as a kid wasn't nobody coming out of that alive. She takes us to a point, and she says, well, I'm going to slow the car down, because the other car was still chasing us, but that wreck, I guess maybe they slowed down or something. But my mom says, okay, we're still being chased. I'm going to slow down to about 5 miles an hour. And you, Curtis Dean, you're going to roll out into the grass, into the tall grass. And you're going to lay there until that car goes by. Then you're going to get up. You're going to walk. You're not going to take a ride from nobody white. You'll only accept a ride from a black couple, no single black males. And they're going to take you, you're going to tell them to take you to the church, and I'll come to the first black church in the next town, and I'll find you. So I remember we rolled out she slowed the car down. We rolled out. It hurt. We rolled out into the grass, and I can remember the chiggers eating my ass. And I can remember Kirstine saying, be quiet, shut up. And we heard that car roll by. So we get up and we start walking, and these people would drive by. Gal, you want to ride? No, sir. Gal, you sure you don't want no ride? No, sir. No, ma'am. Finally, a black couple pulls up, Child, you want to ride? Yes'm. Into the car we go. Turns out that they were the pastor of the church, the pastor and his wife. When we got to the church, Mom was already there waiting. She takes us and we go away. We go back to the house and everything. And whatever happened from all of that, I never knew. Like, there were no cops that ever came to the house or nothing like that I knew of. But the next thing I remember was a phone call. These phone calls started coming in the night. And they were these threats on our lives. And the one that I remember the most was, that black baby boy you got, when we catch his ass out there playing, we're going to take him and we're going to string him up. And my mama said, good, he'll be out there tomorrow. And every other day, he will play out there in the front yard. You know where he is. Come get him. I can't wait till you get here. Because then you will have released me to kill every child I find on a school bus, sitting on a bus stop, until I get one of yours. So come get him. You killed him the night you killed Emmett Till. So he's been dead for a long time anyway. Come get him tonight. We'll have him out there playing tonight. Funny thing is, they stopped calling after that. So one thing I learned about bullies when you deal with MCing that I saw from my mama, when you ain't playing and you mean what you say, well, you know the rest. So I never stopped going out to play. And little kids and stuff and all of that, I still had my life. The second big thing that I remember was we were rolling to Mississippi on these back roads, and it was late at night, and I was asleep in the Cadillac. I felt something was kind of wrong. And as I felt this thing kind of wrong, I woke up like something's not right. And I'm laying on the seat, and Curtis Steen is laying on the seat, my first cousin, Curtis Steen, who just died about 2 months ago. God rest her soul, maybe 3 months ago. And Curtis Steen was asleep. I was asleep, and I looked up, and I saw this look in my mother's eyes of just complete dismay. And she said, John, are you awake? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, wake up Curtis Steen, and both of you guys lay down on the floor. I already knew what that shit was about. Oh, hell, we're laying on the floor. We got a car issue. We got a car issue. We got an issue with somebody trying to run us off the road. I already knew. And that's about the time I looked over and I saw this 18-wheeler, some kind of big old truck trying to run us off the road. He would swerve all the way across the highway. And I think, like, maybe back then, maybe trucks were as fast as cars, because it didn't seem like we were just like outrunning them like that. It was almost like he could keep, like, we could get a few curves ahead of him, but on a straightaway, this guy would catch on back up. So my mother says, I wake up Curtis Steen, and we laid on the floor. And to me, I remember the floor of that Cadillac seemed like you could put 5 bodies in just on the front floor. Like, there seemed like to be so much room down there. When I look at Cadillacs today, from back in that day, I'm like, man, this thing is so small. But I remember how big it was to lay down there. And my mother says, son, whatever you do, I know, don't look up. But of course, 4 or 5 years old, what do? You look up. So my mother, now that we were on the floor, she slows the damn car down. And I watched this big old truck. And from where I was laying, I could look up into the truck, into the cab. And I saw this evil looking kind of man. I kind of remember a grimace on his face. Don't remember much about it because it was so long ago, but I remember that grimace. And as he swerved that truck over and he pulls out her 38 Special and unloads it into the cab, I watched that truck go off the road and just big, huge, I don't know if it was an explosion or just a puff or whatever, but it was the end of the pursuit on that backcountry road. She lit his ass up like a Christmas tree. Now, I'm sitting there looking with eyeballs this big like, whoa, you shot somebody. Holy moly. And my mom says, John, lay down and go to sleep. Being a respectful child who had his butt beat many times, I laid on down. Went to sleep. The next day, they never spoke of it. They didn't speak of it at the dinner table, at the breakfast table. They didn't speak of it in conversation. They didn't look at each other with knowing eyes. None of that. They never spoke about it again. My mother never mentioned it for the next, until 1997. That was 1960 something. Till she died in 1997. It was never mentioned again. So I thought it was a dream. My whole life I grew up thinking it was a dream. Until about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I had lost touch with my father's family, Curtis Dean and them. I had lost touch with them from the 60s. My mom and dad got divorced not long after that. I was about 6 when they got divorced. So I never saw that family again until 97 when my mother died. And Curtis Dean and them came up to bury her. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, so I started going back home, back to my father's home in Mississippi. And one day I'm riding with my cousin Curtis Dean, who used to beat my ass and put diapers on me and stuff. And she said, John, you remember that time when your mother killed that guy in the 18-wheeler? And I looked at her and I just started crying. You mean that was real? That really happened? Absolutely. It really happened. I said, but you guys never spoke of it. She says, well, some things like that you don't speak of. That's where I learned from my mama how you don't talk club business, damn it. You don't talk club business. If you handle business, you take it to the grave. Does that make sense? Capiche? If you don't talk about it, it can't get out. It can't be talked about. Nobody can leak it if you don't talk about it. It's good to see Shaggy in here. He says, nor do you handle business with another person. I learned that from my mama. Lady had never been in a motorcycle club. So the next thing I remember was just how tough she was as a person, as a single mother raising 3 children. My father hightailed it the hell out of the country. See, when my father was about 15 years old, a white man had gotten his sister pregnant. So he was married. He came to her house in Mississippi and kicked the child out of her stomach on the front porch with everybody watching. Now, I know how we feel about that. Like, there's no way you could do that. You would what? What would you would do? In that situation that they were in, to do something would mean the death of your entire family. My father wanted out. So as soon as he got in the military, when he divorced my mother, he moved to Germany and never brought his ass back here again. That's how I have half German brothers. If you guys ever see me with my brothers, those guys, they look half German. They are. Speak fluent German. Dad vermoost. Mom was over here having to handle her business. And she had a badass son. I mean, I was in everything. One Christmas, we get BB guns. The daisies. And I got a Crossman pump as well as a daisy. So the daisy was cool because you could put, 50 or 100 BBs in it and just bang, 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 just like the rifleman. I know I just dated myself right there. You youngsters don't know who the rifleman was, and you don't need to know. But just know this was before automatic guns and stuff. He had the first automatic gun because you could just go and it would just shoot off, as fast as you could. It was like the first semi-auto, right? So we would have wars, these BB gun wars. They were fantastic. In fact, I don't even know why we all still have our eyes. Like there should be some of us with no eyes right now. At least one eye lost. We don't deserve to have eyes. Our parents don't deserve for us to have eyes. They weren't watching us. They just gave us these BB guns and turned us loose on society. And my first thing with my BB gun, I got for Christmas in Wichita, Kansas. We had gone there for Christmas. My first thing to do was pick up the gun, my BB gun, and I looked at my cousin, Latrina, square in the back. I was like, according to my calculation and windage, I should be able to shoot her right in the middle of the back. Now, she has her winter coat on, so this really shouldn't hurt her too much. In fact, I would venture to guess that she's not going to be in any pain at all. I'm perfectly safe to shoot her ass in the back. Bang! Ah! Oh my God, I miscalculated. She screamed and kicked and hollered, and my Uncle JP came and snatched that gun out of my hand and beat my ass. Only to have my cousin, Latrina, come back downstairs and say, it didn't hurt. I just did that so you'd get in trouble. Now, you'd think I would be mad at her. But I was like, aha. So my calculations were correct. And instead of being mad that I got this terrible beating from my uncle, I was inspired that my mathematics were right. It didn't hurt her worth a damn. I was right. To this day, my cousins reenact that day that I got beat. My uncle swears to God I did not do that to that child. But we all know. Shaggy said they use pellets. Yeah, the Daisies only use BBs. The Crossmans use pellets and BBs. So I'm going to get to that. I'm getting to that story. Dark Soul said we had bottle rock wars. Dibber shot his brother. So I got that beating and everything, and you would have thought that I would not be shooting at anybody else, but hell no. When we got back down to Lawton, Oklahoma, me and my buddies and stuff, we've been watching John Wayne. Come on, you can't have shootouts from house to house across the street in a John Wayne movie, and we got all this hardware. So there was 2 abandoned houses across the street from each other, and we would break out the windows and just plunk at each other all damn day long and just shoot the hell out of each other. Crying, you'd be crying. Somebody shoot you, you're crying, and you cock back, shoot them back. And the funny thing was, before I really realized how powerful the Crossman was, it had the pump, and you could shoot pellets with it, but you had to pump it. So my friend took that gun. He was fighting with his brother, and his brother would shoot him, bang, 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 and he would be getting shot while he was trying to get that thing cranked up so he could have one good one. Bang! And when he hit his brother, and he hit him with a pellet after he had pumped that sucker like 4 times, that guy felt like he had actually been shot. He felt like he'd been shot with a elephant rifle or something. He just boom, hit the ground. And thus was how we got down, shooting each other in the back alleys and backyards of the abandoned houses in Lawton, country ass Oklahoma. So I was a latchkey kid. My mother had to work, so we weren't allowed to be out of the house. And so the kids would come and hang out underneath my front window, waiting till my mother got home at 5. My mom got off at 5. She got home about 5:30. And so here we are sitting out in front of the window there, and I'm in the window, up above, and the guys were talking, Paul Kazort and some of my other friends from back in the day. And we're talking, and I come up with this grand idea. Why don't we see if we can shoot the tires of the cars passing by? Sounded like a good idea. So we as these cars go by, bang, 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 everybody shoots, and everybody hits a tire. And we're just like, oh my God, we actually hit those tires. And here I am back on this mathematics shit. I'm like, you know what? My math worked. I was right. I was able to shoot the tires. So then I asked the guys, I'm like, okay, let's see if we can't shoot the car on the hubcaps. So as the cars would drive by, everybody's coming home from work. It's almost 5. As the cars would drive by, so some of the guys were good at hitting the hubcap, but I was the only one that hit it every time. So now I say, well, let's see if we can shoot the door. And my buds was like, oh, hell no, man. You lost your mind. We're not fixing to shoot nobody's door. But not me, man. I had to shoot the door. And as that car went by, I shot that door. Bang! And you would have thought that would have been enough, but I was still doing my mathematics. So I figured, I wonder if I shot the window. I wonder if the car window would break. I don't think it would. This is just a BB gun. It doesn't have enough force to break the window. After all, I didn't hurt my cousin at all. So I'm going to shoot this gun, and I'm going to shoot it at the window. And I just knew that window was not going to break. And my buddies was like, don't do it. Don't do it, John. Whatever you do, don't do it, John. Don't do it. I cocked that sucker. I looked, I watched, I walked that car down, bang, and that window exploded in front of me. Oh, hell. I'm in trouble, trouble, trouble. I shut the window real quick, ran into my mother's room where I was supposed to be watching TV, and you hear the ring on the door. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Man, I ain't answering that door. You've lost your mind. I will never answer that door. I could hear the guy beating on the door. He was so pissed off. Man, I ain't never answering that door. You can hang it up. I ain't answering the door. That ain't happening. So I figured he'll just disappear because I ain't answering the door. Well, then I hear this rumble in the driveway, the familiar sound of my mother's car pulling up. And I was like, oh, Jesus. I'm dead. Next thing you know, I hear this yelling in the front yard. The door opens. John! Never forget that voice. I'm in trouble. Like, what the hell what have you gotten me into? I just got off work. Everything is fine. I had a good day. And now I come to the front yard. You're not even supposed to be out the window. You're supposed to be in the back room watching TV. And there's this crazy man. That sound. John! So I said, yes, ma'am, in my best I haven't done shit voice. And she said, did you shoot that man's window out outside? And I said, what man? What man? My poor mother. God rest her soul. I said, what man? And she said, don't you effing lie to me. And then I started crying. Yes, I shut the window. As though that were going to help something. I'm dead. Now, you guys do know I'm dead, right? So my mother goes back to the man and says, hey, listen. And she's outside talking to him. And this was 1970s Oklahoma. And this was a white man. And he felt like, back then, women, you think about women and you think about motorcycle clubs and how the 70s were in Oklahoma is how the 70s is how motorcycle clubs are today. He got to a point where he said, where's your husband? And I guess her answer wasn't good enough, or he must have felt like she ain't got no husband. So now he was going to take it upon himself to beat my ass. So my mom's at the front door, and he pushes my mother over, grabs over the top of my mother, and grabs me by the hair. At that time, you hear a gun cock. So if you ever seen, like, if you're doing karate or you're doing Aikido and somebody starts to go forward, you can flex up at their face or whatever, and they will pull themselves backward. And if you just barely touch them, they'll fly backwards like they're flying 100 miles an hour. And it wasn't you, it was their own inertia from driving themselves back. That's how quickly this son of a bitch stood up like, oh, shit. Right here was a cocked .357 Magnum. And my mother was on one knee because he had stepped over the top of her. And she rose up off the ground and brought him to his knees. And she put that gun in his mouth. And she said, if you touch my son, I'll kill you. So I learned family, brotherhood from my mama that I use in the MC. You touch one of my brothers, you put your hands on my family, well, you know. I think it was the guy in the mafia that my brother Hardcore always says, yeah, we're just a family club. That's all we are. We're just a family club. But didn't you learn in the mafia, don't ever mess with family? Don't mistake these one-piece patches. Don't get it twisted. You're not fixing to reach over the top of anybody and grab anybody by the hair and yank them up out of here, bro. We ain't getting down like that. Husband or no husband. Don't get it twisted. This game is real. I learned that from my mama. She put that guy on his knees. She put a gun in his mouth. It was cocked, and she wasn't playing. She said, if you touch my son, I will kill you. And that guy started pissing on himself at my front door. She stood him up and walked him to the car with her gun to his, right here to his mouth. She put him in his car and she told him, have a nice day. That was my mama. Now, I got an ass whooping with my Rock'em Sock'em robot ring. Do you know the nylon cord around the Rock'em Sock'em robot ring? It makes an incredible belt, an incredible flogging instrument. Well, woo, I still remember that. So now, a few months later, it's summertime, and you know, I'm probably 9 years old or something, and my mother, I take her lawnmower, and I go out. So I've been watching, I've been reading about Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, and I've been watching all these movies and stuff. So, I got a job. My first job ever was that I was mowing yards. Well, I think my first job was my own lemonade stand, but after that I started mowing yards. It was $1 for the front yard, $2 for the backyard, $3 for front and back. And so I go to this one house and I'm like, okay, can we do your yard? Absolutely. It's $1 for the front, $2 for the back, $3 for front and back. $3. Man, it's $100 to get your yard done now. We was doing it for $3, bro. $3. That was big money. That was candy for 2 weeks, bro. So we're doing this yard, and my buddy, he taps me. He goes, that was the man whose window you shot out. I was like, it couldn't be. No, we couldn't be this unlucky. That right here in our neighborhood lives the guy whose window I shot out. And he's like, Shaggy said, this story is the history of Black Dragon getting his ass beat. So this, I'm like, how could I be this unlucky? This guy, this can't be the guy. And I was just hoping, oh my God, I hope this ain't the guy. So I was like, oh, just shut up. Just do the yard. Just do the yard. So me and my buddy, we do the yard. We're going to split it $1.50 each. So we do the yard and everything, and we sweep up everything, and we've done a great job. And we go to get paid, and his wife gives us the $3. And maybe a 50-cent tip or something. It's a 50-cent tip or something. She gave us a little tip. And I said, thank you for letting us do your yard. And she said, thank you for fixing our window. Ow! It was them. But how the hell did she know? She wasn't there. So these are the lessons that I took to MCing. The lessons in strength and passion under fire and survival at any cost. The lessons of family and the lessons of keeping your mouth shut. The lessons of standing next to your brothers, standing next to your family. Man, I remember when some dudes would try to beat me up or whatever. My two little sisters would stand and fight with me. All three bunches. You fought one, you had to fight. If you fought me, you had to fight my sisters. Two, you had to fight my sisters too. We was all gonna swing on that ass. The whole family. And so my mother, she never stopped. Like in 1972, my mother, she couldn't stand to be afraid of anything. So she realized she was afraid of heights. So what does she do? She went and got her pilot's license. Perhaps the first black woman in Lawton, Oklahoma to do so. 1972, she got her pilot's license because she was afraid of heights. So what else did I learn from my mother about MCing? You sorry son of a bitch, you're afraid to ride in the pack? You're afraid to ride in formation? Well, my mother was afraid. She went and got a pilot's license when she was afraid of heights, so I don't want to hear it. It ain't safe to ride 2x2, then get out of here. Get your ass out there on that motorcycle with the road captain and learn how to ride like we ride in a motorcycle club. Bruh. I've known women that were more gangster than you. So, the Million Man March came. And by the time my mother, my mother went to law school. she was a bad girl. She went to law school. She went to Pepperdine Law School for a while. One of baddest law schools in the whole nation. She had to drop out of there because she didn't have enough money. She went to Oklahoma City University Law School. I remember the Million Man March came. So the Million Man March was an interesting thing because Louis Farrakhan said, I want 1 million black men to come to Washington, D.C. and march on the Capitol. And we're going to talk about the responsibilities that black men should have, and we should be fathers, and we should do all this stuff. This isn't for anyone else. It's just for us to come in and make our communities better. It was a good pitch. It's a good pitch. I was like, okay, well, let's go see. I want to see what they're talking about. We're going to stand and pray and unify and figure out how to right all the wrongs. But there was a lot of black men that were afraid to go. Terrified that they'd get hemmed up on the highway or something like that. That the cops would do something to us. So my mother drove 7 men that were afraid to go. That's okay. I'll drive you. I got it. I'll drive. And I hope to hell somebody stops me. Then when she got there, she didn't even go to the march. Because Minister Farrakhan said the march was for men only. There were a lot of women there, but he had said that it was for women only. And she says, I will be obedient and not go. She drove all those people to the march and didn't even go. And I was like, man, you know, Mom, those are grown ass men. You're going to come on now. She said, it's okay, son. So what I learned from my mother was how to be a damn warrior. In the midst of whatever the case may be. You got to stand up on your own too. You can't be afraid. What are they going to do? Run you off the road? Stab you? Beat you up in the store when you're 6 months pregnant? Beat you down in front of your 4-year-old child? Not if I can cut you first, mother. See what I mean? If I cut you first, you won't cut me. You won't be able to. What are they going to do? Come hang your son, and we better not see him playing anymore. Good, get mine, because I'll sure get yours. I might not get yours, but I'll get enough of them where you'll know I was out there. So come, you can come get him anytime. This is the way this is how she got down. This was the person she was, raised by pimps and whores who said, you will never be that. She was a professor of English, adjunct professor of English at Cal State Northridge, California. She went to law school. She was a freedom writer. She worked with Clara Luper, civil rights icon in Oklahoma City. She was a mediator, a pilot. Everyone always said, yes, ma'am, Miss Bunch. Whenever they spoke, lawyers, politicians, senators, she met them all. She lived in Africa and traveled around the world. She never met a fight that she wasn't prepared to win. I saw her, I saw cops try to bully over her and stuff like that, pull her over, all this whole stuff. You see people get shot on the side of the road, not her. My mom will let you know in a heartbeat, if this goes sour, I'm going to kill you. So have some respect so we both leave this traffic stop. That's crazy. So, Mama, you died before you could ever see any of my books. You died before I became a national president. You died before I made a movie. You died before I made a name for myself. You died before people would call me all the time and want to talk to me about helping them fix their problems. You died before I could show you anything of gratitude for the many sacrifices you made in teaching me how to be who I became. The only thing you ever really got to see was me be a submarine sailor in the United States Navy. And you were so proud of that. So on this, the night of your death, when you died 24 years ago, didn't tell you guys about the time I got shot in the Navy. I got shot up and everything. And I told my best friend, I said, whatever you do not call my mother and tell her I've been shot up. And my best friend Lowe said, I won't call her. Honest. I said, she's going to lose it. I'm okay. I'll tell her at a time of my choosing. Do not tell my mother I've been shot up. That sucker said, okay, I won't tell her. And he ran. Miss Bunch, John's been shot. Next thing I know, she was on the next thing to Norfolk, Virginia, and had my whole submarine on standby. She walks on the submarine, tells my commanding officer, you will turn Petty Officer Andrus over to me. You will turn this person over to me. These will be my escorts to make sure that I'm taken care of while I'm in the city. That commanding officer said, yes, ma'am, Miss Bunch. Oh. Ran the whole submarine. My buddy was like, how the hell did she do that? She got me out of duty. This is crazy. How the hell did she do it? And they assigned them brothers to her. And made sure that she stayed there, Jesus, a month or so, something like that. Telling the doctors in the hospital what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And yes, ma'am, Miss Bunch. Yes, ma'am, Miss Bunch. Yes, ma'am, Miss Bunch. Damn, I miss you, Mama. When my mother died, I thought to myself, my best friend's gone. I'm a ship without a rudder. I have no one to tell me what to do to be right. And then I laughed. And I said, oh, you already know what she would say. I will never be lost. I will never be alone. I know what she would say. You gonna do what to me? Give it your best shot. Give it your best shot. One time I had to stop her from killing a guy. We pulled over on the side of the road to help some guys in the snow. Their car wasn't working. And she was like, yeah, you guys have a problem? Is there something we can do for you? Yeah, bitch, you can give us your car. Oh, boy. My mother opened up the door and said, you want the car? I knew better. I knew. I was like, oh, shit, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. I jumped out of the car. I ran around in the snow. And he was like, yeah, bitch, I'm taking the car. And he had grabbed her door. And I got to her. Right when the gun was there, I pushed it away. She shot into the snow. She was already shooting the gun. I used my best karate kick. I kicked the guy. He flew to the back of his car. We pulled in behind him. He flew like maybe 4 or 5 feet and slid another 6 feet. My mom was trying to get on him again. I was like, Mama, you can't just kill the guy. Pushed her into the car. I'm so sick of this. The guy came running at me. I kicked his ass again. He fell out into the field. I jumped in the car. I said, let's go. Now his buddy, when Anise pulled the gun out, his buddy was like, oh, hell, I'm out. He's running down the street. As I pushed the guy away, he grabs a hold of the car. As mom's pulling out, the wheels are spinning. He goes for a ride down the road with the car. What does Anise do? She sees the guy on the car. As we're passing the buddy, she slams the car into the buddy, so the buddy rubs the guy and they rub off onto the ground together. She stops and turns around and looks at him and says, "Lucky for you, my son was here." Drives off down the road. A hellion, that one. Someone I love with all my heart. This motorcycle club stuff, it ain't hard, man. It's like taking care of your family. You have all the stuff you need. Your mama probably taught you. Your daddy probably taught you. Your grandma probably taught you. Your 5th grade teacher. You got all the stuff you need, bro. You need to bring some damn common sense to the game. You need to bring some heart to the game. You need to bring the inside of who you are to the game. It's nothing special over here. It's just family. It's family. We decide to be together as family. And if you can't do that, get out of here. It's not for everybody. It's not. It's not, really. It's not. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if it's not for you. It's okay. We'll take our colors and our marbles and our matchboxes and we'll go play over here. And we'll love you. When we see you, we'll ride with you. We'll have fun with you. You just won't be one of us because you don't deserve to be. My mother deserved my love. She deserved my loyalty. She earned it. She was keeping me alive when folks was trying to kill me just for the color of my skin. Then other times when somebody would, when somebody was mad, I shot. She earned that. If you earn your respect in your motorcycle club, you will have it. It's nothing special you got to do. Just be real. Just be giving. Just give of yourself. Stop thinking about me all the damn time. Think about we. Cliff Burnett says, family taught us who we are, what we are, and what our children will be. We've learned this stuff. Motorcycle clubs aren't any different. Our application shouldn't be either. My all to my MC. I don't like half of those sons of bitches. I don't like them. Most of the people in my motorcycle club I can't stand. But they're my brothers. And most of them can't stand me. But they're my brothers. There's a certain way they must be treated. They belong to me, and I to them. Somebody say, well, what's the difference in 1%? A lot of times, the 1% motorcycle clubs and the outlaw motorcycle clubs, they get this. This is part of the DNA in which they train their prospects. There's no 90 days and you're in, buddy. You might not get in for years. There are people in my motorcycle club to this day that didn't get in for years. I'm one of them. Those people are hard to get rid of. Hard to get rid of. I miss you, Mama. I thank you, a woman, for teaching me how to be a man. I don't know how the hell you did it. And if the greatest thing I ever do in the world was I was the president of an MC, that's good enough for me. I did what I wanted to do. I impressed the people I wanted to impress. I had friendships with the people I wanted to be friends with. I served my country and I served my brothers. Fine with that. Good with that. My brothers trusted me to be a national president representing them for almost a decade. I'm happy with that. Somebody in the world trusted me. What my mother gave me, I was able to give to others. Like she always did. Like all the kids she took in and fed and raised other people's children. So, I guess I'm done. I want to thank we call them brothers from another mother or brothers from another club. I just want to thank my fellow creators that continue to have my back. Dibber, Hollywood, Shaggy, Big Bone, Wild. These guys that are here in my comment section looking after me, never taking their eyes off of me. They've earned my respect and my trust and my loyalty. It's just that easy. My mother told me about love. Love, she said, is boring. It's dependable. It's going to be there every time and thick and thin and good and bad. There's nothing stupendous about it. It's just boring. Don't need a magical lamp, a lantern. You don't need a magic carpet to fly on. Love, real love, it's just there like it's supposed to be. Simple. It doesn't take a whole lot. You don't need a whole bunch of arguing, a whole bunch of this, a whole bunch of that. You know, some girls like, dude, woman, I got to buy you a yacht to get some? I don't think I want that. What if I don't have any yacht money anymore? Like a woman who loves you, really loves you for you, you don't need all that. It's nice. I mean, I got a yacht and stuff. I'm going to pimp it on by. Hey, would you like a ride? But somebody I really want to capture, I might not let them know I have a yacht at all. Or an RV. Okay. I guess that somebody trying to call me or something. I guess that must be my time. Somebody said a beautiful tribute to your mom. Thank you so much. Please make sure to hit my like button. Might not be a club brother or a creator, but I have your back. Jeremiah Theason has always had my back. And so let me not be remiss in saying that you folks that have been following me for the last 5 years, when my dog got hurt and his damn leg almost got pulled off and he had to have surgery, you guys sent me thousands of dollars. When my house caught on fire, you guys sent me thousands of dollars. When I was 3 years behind, 2.5 years behind in writing my book, President's Bible, you guys stayed with me. So you guys are mine too. You have earned my respect too and my loyalty as well. So I thank you. Oh, that took a lot. I've been wanting to weep and stuff like a little girl. Just as the old story goes, you cannot sell your soul just the same as the MC. It becomes our soul, our life. It became our breath. We cannot sell what we do not own. Amen. Listen, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me. We have the #1 show on Sundays. Thank you, Hollywood, Shaggy, and Big Bone, and Wild, and Pac. Thank you all for helping me make this the #1 show on Sunday nights in the biker world community. Man, thank y'all. I'm Black Dragon. That's my 2 cents. Now, this is also broadcast live, simulcast on the Dragon's Lair Motorcycle Chaos. That is the podcast. Black Dragon Biker TV on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Black Dragon Biker TV. And BikerLiberty.com is our online newspaper. Don't forget to check out Shaggy's Corner. That's his YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out Dibber in the Wind. Dibber is the grandfather of us all, the godfather who started us all. Don't forget to check out Hollywood, Insane Throttle Biker News. And don't forget to check out Wild on Twos, his channel. These are all my great friends, my great people. And let's see. Ghost Eagle has been following me from the beginning. Absolutely. Just honor and respect to you guys all. Thank you all for tuning in. And thank you all for helping me celebrate the incredible life of Anish Yvonne Wakefield Jackson Bunch. She was a warrior. And was larger than her time. I miss you, Mama. And I love you. And I hope to God I've made you proud. Prepare yourself to take the helm as president of your mighty motorcycle club by delving into the pages of Black Dragon's newest book, The President's Bible, Chronicle 1, Principles of Motorcycle Club Leadership. There you will learn to advance your skills in applying the 14 scientific principles of leadership similar to those taught to officers in the United States Naval Service. Available in hardcover, paperback, and ebook. Get yours today on Amazon, Kindle, or order it at your local bookstore. Order your autographed copy from blackdragonsgear.com. Be the best motorcycle club president you can be. Get the book.